Welcome to True Crime, the untold stories where we dive deep into the most shocking and twisted real-life murder cases. Today, we take you to Chesterfield, Missouri, a wealthy St. Louis suburb known for its upscale neighborhoods, country clubs, and carefully kept secrets. But in May of 2022, one of those secrets erupted into murder. Vivienne Macksey was found dead in her luxurious home, in one of the most humiliating ways imaginable. A respected businesswoman, Vivienne had built a life of success and glamour. But behind the picture-perfect exterior, her marriage was crumbling, and she was hiding an affair. The betrayal was costly, so costly that it ended with a bullet to the head, a final act of degradation, and a cryptic message scrawled in lipstick. Who hated her enough to kill her? Was it the scorned husband, the jilted lover, or a jealous best friend? And how did the murderer's own arrogance lead to their downfall? This is the story of Vivienne Macksey, a woman who was killed on the toilet in an act of ultimate humiliation. Vivienne Macksey was a woman who seemed to have it all: wealth, beauty, and a successful career. At 39, she was one of the top businesswomen in Chesterfield, a wealthy suburb of St. Louis known for its country clubs, gated communities, and high-end shopping centers like Chesterfield Mall. Vivienne had spent nearly 2 decades building her reputation, selling million-dollar homes to St. Louis's elite. She had a natural gift for making people feel at ease, a skill that helped her close deals and maintain a wide network of influential clients. Vivienne had been married to Maximilian Macksey for over 20 years, having wed him when she just 18. Despite the age difference, they were the perfect power couple on paper. He, a high-powered corporate lawyer. She, a successful businesswoman. They lived in a sprawling estate in an exclusive neighborhood, drove luxury cars, and took vacations to places like Monaco and Maldives. But behind closed doors, Vivienne's life was far from perfect. Close friends later told investigators that she often felt suffocated by her marriage. Maximilian was controlling, and their relationship had grown cold over the years. In early 2022, Vivienne started an affair with her personal trainer, 25-year-old Ryder Gastrell. She met Ryder at an exclusive fitness club in town, where she had been working with him for almost a year. What started as harmless flirting quickly escalated into a full-blown relationship. Ryder was young, fit, and full of energy, everything her husband wasn't. The affair made Vivienne feel alive again. But over time, it became clear that what had once been exciting was now a problem. She had promised Ryder she would leave Maximilian, but she kept putting it off. In the days leading up to her murder, Vivienne seemed unsettled. She had confided in her best friend and business partner, Carol Wilford, that she was tired of sneaking around. She wanted out of the marriage, out of the affair, out of the mess she had created. But leaving Maximilian wouldn't be easy. He was a powerful man, well-connected and intimidating. On May 10th, 2022, Vivienne met Carol for a drink at a wine bar in St. Louis. Vivienne seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly. Carol asked if she was okay, and Vivienne admitted she needed to make some decisions about her future. She didn't say what those decisions were, but it was clear she was worried. Vivienne Macksey would never get the chance to start over. May 17th, 2022. It was a quiet Tuesday morning in Chesterfield, Missouri. The spring air was warm, and the morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the Macksey estate, a massive brick home in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in town. Daria Bobuk, the Mackseys' longtime housekeeper, arrived at the home just before 8 a.m., as she did every weekday. She had worked for the family for years, cleaning their home, preparing light meals, and making sure everything stayed in perfect order. The house was silent when she entered. No sound of the coffee machine, no morning news playing on the kitchen TV. It wasn't unusual for Vivienne to sleep in after a long night of work or social events. So Daria went about her routine. She started in the kitchen, wiping down the marble countertops and unloading the dishwasher. Then, she moved on to the living room, straightening up the designer throw pillows on the oversized sectional. When she reached the master bedroom, something felt wrong. The bed was unmade, the sheets in disarray. The air had a strange stillness to it, and a faint metallic scent lingered. Then she saw the open bathroom door. Stepping closer, Daria froze. Vivienne Macksey was sitting on the toilet, slumped forward, her head tilted unnaturally to the side. A deep, dark gunshot wound was visible on her forehead. Her silk robe, cream-colored with delicate lace trim, was bunched around her ankles. Her bare legs looked lifeless. Daria gasped, her hands trembling as she took a step back. Her eyes darted to the bathroom mirror. A message was scrawled across the glass in deep red lipstick. Flushed away. A choked sob escaped Daria's throat. The cleaning supplies in her hand clattered to the tile floor. For a moment, she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then, with shaking hands, she reached in her pocket for her phone and dialed 911. Her voice was frantic as she tried to explain. She repeated Vivienne's name over and over. The dispatcher struggled to calm her down, asking for the address and details. Daria pressed her back against the wall, her body trembling. She wanted to look away from the horrifying scene in front of her, but she couldn't. Vivienne Macksey, the woman who had once seemed untouchable, was dead, and someone had wanted to send a message. At 8:17 a.m., Chesterfield Police Department received Daria Bobek's frantic 911 call. Officers were dispatched immediately, arriving at the Macksey estate just 10 minutes later. The neighborhood, known for its gated homes and manicured lawns, rarely saw violent crime. But this was different. This was brutal. Veteran detective Aaron Saunders, a grizzled investigator with 20 years on the force, stepped into the master bathroom first. His partner, Isley Littleton, a rising star in the department known for her sharp instincts, followed close behind. The moment they saw the scene, they knew this wasn't a burglary gone wrong. Vivienne Macksey sat slumped on the toilet, her body lifeless, a single gunshot wound to her forehead. The blood had already started to dry, streaking down her cheek and pooling on the tiled floor. The gunshot had been close-range, execution style. She never had a chance to fight back. There were no signs of struggle, no broken locks, no forced entry. Nothing in the home was disturbed, except for one chilling detail. Written across the bathroom mirror in thick, red lipstick were two words: flushed away. It was a deliberate act, meant to humiliate the victim even in death. Someone wanted Vivienne not just dead, but degraded. Saunders and Littleton took a step back, scanning the bathroom. It was spotless, except for the blood. The expensive white marble counters gleamed under the bright vanity lights. Expensive perfumes rested on the counter, untouched. Vivienne had lived a life of luxury, but now, none of it mattered. The crime scene unit got to work immediately. Gunshot residue swabs were taken from Vivienne's hands and nearby surfaces. The techs dusted for fingerprints, carefully examining the lipstick message for smudges. Security footage from the home's cameras was collected. Vivienne's cell phone and laptop were bagged for analysis. Littleton inspected the position of Vivienne's body. Her silk robe was bunched around her ankles, exposing her, but there was no evidence of sexual assault. The humiliation was psychological, not physical. Saunders turned to the crime scene photographer, who was snapping shots of the bathroom from every angle. This was methodical, precise. The killer knew Vivienne well. Now, the detectives had one key question. Who hated Vivienne Macksey enough to kill her like this? Maximilian Macksey, age 68, was a man used to winning. As a high-profile corporate attorney, he had built a reputation for being ruthless in the courtroom and even colder in his personal life. His colleagues described him as calculating, controlled, and completely unshakable. But now, detectives had to figure out if he was also a murderer. Police tracked him down at his downtown Chesterfield office, a sleek, glass-walled corner space in one of the city's most expensive buildings. The firm's logo, Macksey and Associates, was displayed in gold lettering at the entrance. Inside, the place felt sterile, professional, and impersonal, just like Maximilian. When detectives broke the news about Vivienne's death, he barely reacted. He straightened his tie, adjusted his Rolex, and kept his voice steady. He said he had assumed she was out meeting a client that morning. There was no shock, no grief, no emotion at all. That was the first red flag. Maximilian claimed he had been working late at the office the night before. No witnesses, No security footage. No alibi. When detectives pressed him, he simply shrugged. His schedule, he said, was unpredictable. Sometimes he worked until midnight, sometimes later. Then came the bigger question. Had he known about Vivienne's affair with her 25-year-old personal trainer, Ryder Gastrell? Maximilian's expression didn't change. He pretended to be unaware, insisting their marriage had problems like any other, but he had no reason to believe she was cheating. The detectives knew he was lying. Sources had already confirmed that Maximilian had known about the affair for months. Bank records showed he had hired a private investigator in early March. Phone records revealed late-night calls to a divorce attorney in April. But he never confronted Vivienne. Why? That's what detectives couldn't figure out. If he had known his wife was unfaithful, why hadn't he fought? Why hadn't he filed for divorce? Instead, he acted as if nothing had changed. Maximilian leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled together. I had no reason to kill my wife. His voice was smooth, almost bored. Detectives weren't convinced. They had seen men like Maximilian before, powerful, arrogant, and dangerous when they lost control. But was he angry enough to commit murder? Ryder Gastrell, age 25, was young, fit, and full of charm. The kind of personal trainer who could make anyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. Vivienne Macksey had been one of his top clients at Elevate Fitness, an exclusive gym in Chesterfield that catered to the city's elite. But Vivienne wasn't just another client. She was his lover. Detectives brought Ryder in for questioning the day after Vivienne's murder. He looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, his leg bounced nervously, and his hands trembled as he spoke. He swore he loved Vivienne, that she had told him she was finally leaving Maximilian. But love stories don't always end happily. Ryder had no solid alibi for the night Vivienne was killed. He claimed he had been home, alone, watching Netflix. No texts, no phone calls, no one to confirm his whereabouts. Then came the biggest problem: cell phone records. Phone tower data showed that Ryder's phone had pinged near Vivienne's gated community around 10 p.m. on May 16th, about an hour before police estimated she was murdered. He had no good explanation for why he was in the area. The evidence was starting to pile up. But there was one more thing: the argument. A week before Vivienne's murder, Ryder and Vivienne had been seen at the Velvet Vine, an upscale wine bar downtown. They hadn't been laughing over glasses of Cabernet. Instead, a witness remembered a heated argument at their corner table. Ryder had been frustrated, desperate. The witness recalled him leaning in, his voice sharp, his expression tight. He had said something chilling. "If you want to end it, I will." When detectives confronted him with this information, Ryder's face went pale. He shook his head, insisting he hadn't meant it like that. He had just been frustrated. He had felt like Vivienne was stringing him along, promising to leave her husband, but never actually doing it. "But I didn't kill her," he insisted. The detectives weren't so sure. A jealous lover, a heated argument, no alibi, a suspicious phone record. It all pointed to Ryder. But then, the case took a shocking turn. 2 days after Vivienne Macksey's murder, Detective Saunders and Littleton got a major break. Security footage from inside the Macksey mansion. Maximilian Macksey had always been meticulous, the kind of man who planned everything down to the smallest detail. As a high-powered attorney, he knew how to cover his tracks. But his need for control became his biggest mistake. Maximilian had installed hidden security cameras throughout the house. Not for safety, not for Vivienne, but for himself. He wanted proof of everything that happened under his roof. And in his arrogance, he forgot one crucial thing: to erase the footage. Detectives combed through hours of recordings taken from a security system's hard drive. Most of it was unremarkable: Vivienne on the phone, sipping wine, scrolling through her laptop. The housekeeper tidying up, the dog pacing near the door. Then came 11:14 p.m. on May 16th, 2022. The footage showed Vivienne walking into the master bathroom, her silk robe trailing behind her. She moved calmly, unaware that she was being watched. 30 seconds later, Maximilian entered behind her. The room was bright, sleek, modern: glass shower, marble countertops, an oversized mirror above the vanity. The camera, hidden in a smoke detector, captured everything. Vivienne never saw it coming. A flash. A gunshot. Then nothing. Maximilian stood motionless, his body rigid, his face expressionless as he looked down at his wife. Vivienne slumped forward on the toilet, lifeless. Then he moved. Maximilian reached into his pocket, pulled out a tube of red lipstick, and approached the mirror. Slowly, deliberately, he wrote 2 chilling words in bold, smeared letters. Flushed away. He stepped back, admiring his work. Then, with the calmness of a man who had planned everything, he left the bathroom, shutting off the light as he went. The footage cut to black. But it was enough. Maximilian Macksey had murdered his wife. And now, the detectives had the proof. May 20th, 2022, 7:45 a.m. The sun was just beginning to rise over downtown Chesterfield as detectives pulled up in front of Macksey and Associates, one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. Maximilian Macksey, known for his sharp legal mind and ruthless tactics in the courtroom, was inside, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. Inside the sleek, glass-paneled office, Maximilian was in a morning meeting, discussing a high-profile corporate lawsuit. His colleagues sat around the conference table, laptops open, cups of coffee steaming beside them. It was business as usual, until it wasn't. The doors swung open, and Detectives Aaron Saunders and Isley Littleton stepped inside. The room fell silent as every lawyer and paralegal turned toward the entrance. Saunders' voice was clear and firm as he stepped forward. Maximilian Macksey, you're under arrest for the murder of your wife. A murmur spread through the room. Maximilian's co-workers froze, eyes darting between him and the detectives. Shock, confusion, disbelief. Maximilian didn't flinch. Without a word, he set down his pen, smoothed out the cuffs of his expensive suit, and slowly stood up. His face remained blank, as if he were negotiating a settlement rather than facing a murder charge. He held out his wrists. The click of the handcuffs echoed in the room. Somewhere, a junior associate let out a quiet gasp. One of the firm's senior partners shook her head, already considering how they'd handle the media fallout. As officers escorted Maximilian out of the building, reporters were already gathering outside. The news had spread fast, too fast. Cameras flashed, microphones extended, and voices called out. Mr. Macksey, did you kill your wife? Is it true Vivienne was leaving you? Did you write the message on the mirror? Maximilian ignored them all. He walked with the same measured, confident steps he used in the courtroom, head held high, expression unreadable. If he was afraid, he didn't show it. Even as officers loaded him into the back of a patrol car, even as the flashing red and blue lights reflected off the mirrored windows of his law firm, the arrogance never faded. Maximilian Macksey had spent his career beating the system. But this time, the system had caught up with him. February 2023. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, legal analysts, and curious onlookers filled the seats, eager to witness the downfall of Maximilian Macksey, once one of the most powerful attorneys in Chesterfield. Now, he sat at the defense table, expression blank, dressed in a navy blue suit instead of the orange jumpsuit he had worn in jail for the past 9 months. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Agnes Cresswell, wasted no time laying out their case. Maximilian hadn't just snapped. He had planned this murder. Evidence showed that he had known about Vivienne's affair for months. He had installed hidden cameras, tracked her every move, and waited for the perfect moment. The lipstick message on the mirror, flushed away, wasn't just an insult. It was calculated. A final humiliation. Cresswell presented security footage from the Macksey estate, showing Maximilian following Vivienne into the bathroom just seconds before the gunshot. The jury watched in silence as the grainy black and white video flickered on the courtroom screen. The moment of the crime, captured forever. The defense, led by Oswald Lusby, painted a different picture. They described Maximilian as a heartbroken man, betrayed by the woman he had loved for over 20 years. According to Lusby, the killing wasn't premeditated. It was a crime of passion, a sudden explosion of rage and heartbreak. But the jury wasn't convinced. Vivienne had been shot in a cold, methodical execution, not in a fit of uncontrollable anger. Then came the biggest blow to the defense. Forensic evidence showed Maximilian had searched for ways to disguise gunshot residue just days before the murder. His internet history included phrases like how to remove GSR from skin and best alibis for a crime. The trial lasted 3 weeks. When the jury returned, the verdict was clear: guilty of first-degree murder. Maximilian showed no emotion as the judge delivered the sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Gasps filled the courtroom. Reporters rushed to file breaking news reports. Vivienne's family hugged one another, some crying, some simply relieved. Maximilian, still expressionless, was led away in handcuffs. As he walked out of the courtroom, he didn't look back. For years, he had controlled every case, every outcome, every verdict. This time, the verdict controlled him. Hey, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like our content and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe. The trial may have ended, but the impact of Vivienne Macksey's murder lingered long after the courtroom doors closed. For Ryder Gastrell, Chesterfield became unbearable. The once promising personal trainer packed up his life and moved across the country, settling in Los Angeles, California. There, he found work at an upscale gym frequented by celebrities and wealthy clients. He rarely spoke about Vivienne, avoiding questions about the affair that had made him a suspect in a high-profile murder case. Some who knew him said he wasn't the same, that the events of May 2022 had left him distant, haunted. Back in Chesterfield, Carol Wilford tried to keep Vivienne's real estate business afloat. She took over as the firm's new leader, but things were never the same. Clients whispered, some choosing to take their business elsewhere, unwilling to associate with a name forever tied to a brutal crime. The once thriving company struggled to recover. Carol kept Vivienne's office untouched for months, unable to bring herself to clear out her best friend's things. As for Maximilian Macksey, the man who once held so much power, his life was now reduced to a 6-by-8-foot cell. He was sent to Red Onion State Prison, a supermax facility in Virginia, where some of the most dangerous criminals in the state were housed. Gone were the expensive suits, the private office, the high-stakes legal battles. Now he wore a standard-issue prison uniform, his every move controlled by guards. In prison, Maximilian was no longer the ruthless attorney feared by rivals and respected by clients. He was just another inmate. Stripped of his influence, he spent his days reading and following a strict prison routine. He rarely spoke to other inmates, keeping to himself, just as he had in court. But inside those walls, he was no longer in control. The case of Vivienne Macksey's murder became one of the most infamous in Chesterfield's history. True crime podcasts dissected every detail, and crime bloggers speculated about what truly pushed Maximilian to kill. Some saw the case as a warning about greed and power, others as a lesson in betrayal and revenge. Justice had been served, but Vivienne's story remained, a cautionary tale that people wouldn't forget anytime soon. Thank you for listening to True Crime, the Untold Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. Until next time, stay safe.